They put my house up for sale without asking, telling, or owning it. I was at a construction site when Dolores texted a photo that blew the heat right out of my chest. Two strangers in suits pacing off my grandfather's cabin deck with a tape measure while a realtor in designer heels stood in my driveway pointing at the porch like she could already feel the commission in her handbag. Spilled coffee went bitter in my mouth as HOA President Veronica Ashworth's voicemail played. Just exploring community improvement options, Garrett. You understand? And I tasted that metallic rage contractors get when a sub lies on delivery and then shrugs. No, Veronica, I don't understand how you think you can sell what isn't yours, but I do understand how to fight back. What would you do if strangers toured your property like they already owned it? Where are you watching from? Please tell me this HOA insanity hits other zip codes too. Let me back up. I'm Garrett, and that cabin they circled has been ours for 43 years. My grandfather Fletcher bought those 2 acres in 1981 with a Korean War disability check and stubborn pride. He came home with shrapnel in his leg, nightmares that never quit, and a faith that hard work beats all of it. He built that place board by board, cut the rafters, drove the nails, ran copper that still outlives pecs. This is our forever home. Kid, he'd say every summer as we stained the deck until pine sap stuck to our hands for days. Nobody can take what you build with your own sweat. He died 3 years ago and left me the cabin, the tools, and the ritual. Saturday coffee from his old percolator, loons calling across water at dusk, and a place my 16-year-old daughter Mackenzie runs to when her mom and I can't agree on anything since the divorce. The cabin predates the HOA by 3 decades. The deed shows clear title long before suburban warriors showed up to count mailboxes and police shrubs. Enter Veronica. California transplant, white BMW washed twice a week, manicured nails for pointing, and a voice fluent in legalese, the dialect you learn to make people who didn't go to law school feel small. I've watched her measure grass with a literal 12-inch ruler like we're all in 3rd grade. 6 months back, she cited my grandfather's workshop as non-conforming rustic, a phrase that could only be invented by someone who's never held a framing square. She demanded 15 grand in architectural compliance or a reconstruction to match her mood board. I declined in terms Fletcher would have appreciated. Today's circus was the escalation. The realtor touring my land was her USC sorority sister, and the brochure called our sanctuary a prime redevelopment with teardown potential for modern, lake-access amenities. They talked about demolishing the shop and putting in a yoga studio like history is a nuisance and Cedar is just old. They have zero legal standing. This is pressure. Sell cheap, let the HOA flip to a developer, then watch lakeshore brochures replace family photos. But this isn't just money. It's the last solid connection to Fletcher. It's where Mackenzie breathes when the world gets too loud. It's where I go after 60-hour weeks of jackhammers and foremen to touch those hand-hewn railings and remember what built right feels like. Across the cove, neighbors were watching too, wondering who's next. Mrs. Patterson got cited for 2 colorful roses. The Hendricks family gets daily tickets for parking a work truck in their own driveway. The whole street is holding its breath to see if ordinary people still get to live where they've always lived, or if money and legal threats always win. Veronica picked the wrong family. My grandfather didn't survive frozen foxholes in Korea, so a clipboard could steal his legacy. Time to show her what Fletcher taught his grandson about fighting back. Veronica's next move landed a week after the driveway stunt. A formal letter on faux official letterhead screaming, "Notice of Abandoned Property Statute Violation," citing Municipal Code 847.3b, and claiming my weekend-only use constituted abandonment. Pay $500 starting in 30 days unless I move in full-time or surrender the deed for community benefit. She copied the county commissioner, her country club doubles partner, to flex connections. Fresh toner couldn't cover the stink. Construction teaches you not to panic when a foundation cracks. You dig until you find the real cause. I spent lunch in the county clerk's basement, the kind that smells like stale coffee and old paper. Beverly, the clerk who's seen every scam in 3 decades, pulled deed books when this was still corn and fish. Your grandfather was smart, she said, tracing the 1981 survey with a finger. Look, the northern line extended 50 additional feet. That fancy HOA mailbox cluster? It sits on Fletcher's land. Even better, the deed carries a clause I'd glossed over. Grandfathered property rights in perpetuity with all municipal exemptions maintained. Lawyers speak for You don't touch this with post-dated rules. On the walk back, Dolores, my neighbor who texts truths and brings oatmeal cookies, dropped the kind of bomb that turns a defense into an offense. She offered me $500, she whispered, glancing around like a principal catching seniors with fireworks. Wanted me to take pictures of your violations, truck, boat, anything. And it's not just you. She handed a handwritten list. Morrison family, forced sale after fence harassment. Patterson cottage, currently too many gnomes. The Hendricks clocking fines for their work truck. She wants to clear anyone who doesn't drive a BMW, Dolores said, leaves crackling underfoot as we walked the line. Then a grin. I've been documenting her. Photos, recordings, copies of letters. 30 years as a high school principal teaches you how to handle bullies. Her file showed a pattern. Systematic harassment aimed at vulnerable or working families. And something else. Veronica's California law license suspended for mishandling client trust accounts. A perfect lifestyle under maxed cards and a mortgage 3 months late. Not a legal eagle. A desperate fraud dressing up intimidation as governance. That night I installed cameras on every corner. Motion-activated, IR-capable, job site grade. If she wanted surveillance, mine would be sharper. I called Tom Martinez, a local property rights attorney with a personal grudge against HOA overreach. Bring me everything, he said. Letters, surveys, her past, your neighbor's evidence. She picked a fight with the wrong crew. My guys on site offered backup. Blue-collar solidarity doesn't need a meeting agenda. Mackenzie sat cross-legged on the floor sorting documents by date, asking the right questions. Dad, is it illegal to lie in an official letter? It's fraud, I said. And we're going to prove it. For the first time since this started, confidence edged out anger. Veronica thought she was playing chess against a guy with a hammer. She was about to learn builders play the long game too. 2 weeks after the clerk's basement, a white county truck rolled into the driveway. Code Enforcement Officer Harold Wessler stepped out with that look people wear when their script feels wrong. Veronica slid from her BMW behind him in a power suit and perfume cloud. Mr. Fletcher, Harold read, we've received complaints about unpermitted structures. The workshop appears to violate current code and may require immediate remediation. The shop, Fletcher's pride from 1983, outperforms half the McMansions around the lake. What remediation? I asked, phone already recording. Veronica didn't wait. $25,000 in permits and updates or demolition within 30 days. It doesn't meet safety standards. I tasted metal again and kept my voice level. Harold, please point to the exact code sections violated. He shifted, glanced at Veronica. There's no permit on file with current systems. Because the county lost records in the 2019 computer transition, I said. But I bet the original contractor still has his. That afternoon I called every old-timer in my contacts. On the third try I hit gold. Jimmy Kowalski, 74, retired, memory like a chalk line. Fletcher's shop. Best client I ever had. Made me redo the foundation a half-inch square. Built it to take a hurricane. He still had his 1983 project file, permit, inspections, final sign-off, yellowed but legible, sitting in a basement cabinet. Sometimes the only thing stronger than a bully's letter is an old carpenter's filing system. That evening Harold called. His voice was the sound of someone who found a spine. Off the record, those violations are questionable. Mrs. Ashworth has been pressing me to find problems. Campaign promises, donations. If you file an official complaint about harassment, I'll back you. This isn't how code enforcement should work. The next morning brought my favorite surprise. Camera footage of Veronica trespassing at 12:47 a.m., parking down the road and tiptoeing onto my property with a bag of flower pots, spacing them with a tape along what she thought was the line, dotting little chalk marks like breadcrumbs. The plan was obvious. Stage encroachment, photograph evidence, start another paper war. Fletcher's survey puts those pots 15 feet inside my boundary. Trespass. Evidence fabrication. Conspiracy to file false reports. I sent the clip to Tom. He snorted coffee. Jimmy delivered originals and a sworn affidavit. Dolores added intelligence. Veronica tried to lean on Roscoe at the hardware store to refuse service to problem neighbors. She's desperate, Dolores said, peering from her kitchen window as Veronica crawled past for the third time that day. And desperate people make stupid mistakes. Harold withdrew the notice Friday. Incomplete information. paper trail attached. Veronica's intimidation had become evidence. Then she went nuclear. A 6:30 a.m. knock and a process server handed me Veronica Ashworth vs. Garrett Fletcher, alleging my property devalued the neighborhood by $2 million, accusing me of hostile environment through intimidation and deliberate neglect, and seeking a TRO to keep me off my own land. A wheelie court sorted it out. Her lawyer, Marcus Webb of Steinberg Webb, bills $500 an hour for weaponized head. Desperation makes people sloppy. I called Tom. Bring everything, he said. Andy me and everything. Meanwhile, my buddy Rick called back his Cusinata PI firm to gut Veronica's finances. $2 million. Accusing me of hostile environment through intimidation and deliberate neglect, and seeking a TRO to keep me off my own land. A wheelie court sorted it out. Her lawyer, Marcus Webb of Steinberg Webb, bills $500 an hour for weaponized head. Desperation makes people sloppy. I called Tom. Bring everything, he said. And I'm in everything. Meanwhile, my buddy Rick called back. His Cusinata firm dug up Veronica's finances, $180K in credit card debt, mortgage in default 3 months from losing everything. He found Lakeshore Properties quietly buying distressed lake houses through shells, 3 foreclosures last year, and a brochure term called Community Optimization. Partner with pliant HOAs. Harass long-timers, scoop up properties cheap, flip to luxury. Then Tom hit the jackpot. The HOA wasn't legally incorporated. The 2019 filing was rejected for missing signatures. Veronica never fixed it. For 3 years, they've issued fines, collected fees, and threatened liens without legal standing. Not overzealous enforcement. Fraud. Elderly families borrowed to pay illegal fines. HOA cards paid spa days and flights. Wire transfers labeled consulting landed near HOA withdrawals. Our file bulged, and the loons called across the cove while I sat on Fletcher's porch, realizing this wasn't one contractor versus one clipboard. It was a community being robbed by someone they'd elected to protect it. We split the fight into 3 tracks: criminal, civil, and community. Tom rang DA Sarah Butler, white-collar specialist with a reputation for chewing through HOA fraud. $430,000 collected, $180,000 left. Wire transfers, cashier's checks, shells, a developer fee, Tom summarized, plus an unincorporated HOA and a campaign of harassment tied to forced sales. Butler moved fast, authorized forensic accountants for a 5-year look-back. In parallel, we built our response network. My first stop was the VFW on Thursday. 23 veterans raised their hands before I finished explaining Lakeshore Optimization. Dolores rolled out a principal's dream. Photos, letters, recordings organized by date and victim in a file cabinet that would make the FBI nod. PI Tony Martinez, no relation to Tom, brought pro-grade surveillance gear and a comfortingly cynical perspective. Every fraudulent transfer has an electronic trail, and electronic trails don't forget. For media, we handed our file to Janet Walsh, award-winning local reporter known for flaying municipal rot. "This is happening everywhere," she said. "You're about to teach a lot of people how to fight." Mackenzie suggested the move that changed tone, a veterans' memorial garden straddling the disputed line. "Grandpa would want something built, not just arguments," she said, sketching native plant beds and granite stones. It gave us a reason to gather, a symbol bigger than fines and a story cameras actually want to tell. Monday morning, Veronica tried voluntary dissolution due to administrative restructuring. Tom had anticipated it. By noon, a court order froze all HOA accounts and barred transfers. Plan A died. She pivoted to smear. Flyers on windshields calling me a dangerous neighbor. Anonymous posts with photoshopped meth lab shots. A wave of 1-star reviews accusing me of stealing tools. Then Veronica's crisis team made the mistake you don't walk back. They went after my daughter. A call to the school claimed I was unstable, hoarded chemicals and weapons, and neglected Mackenzie. Principal Morrison knew us and called anyway because policy. Within a day, 47 teachers and parents phoned to vouch. CPS came, looked, and closed the complaint as malicious and potentially fraudulent in 2 hours flat. Roy Patterson's veteran network found the crisis firm renting space over the pizza joint on Main. College kids were earning $20 an hour to robocall. "Mercenaries don't fare well against people who fought 3 wars, Roy said, setting surveillance shifts like the old days. Meanwhile, Tom's forensic accountant found a Caribbean shell called Community Solutions LLC, with $380,000 that matched HOA withdrawals, split into sub 380, 00 that matched HOA withdrawals, split into sub 10K chunks, a structuring pattern IRS flags in its sleep. The IRS had been watching. Veronica went from state fraud to federal laundering and tax evasion territory. Blackstone quietly withdrew. They manage reputations, not indictments. Veronica tried a last-minute deal, 50% restitution, minimum security gag order. Tom told her no. Some crimes you don't hide behind thick doors. Friday at 2:47 a.m. My cameras caught Veronica spray painting foreclosed across the workshop and sprinkling a starter kit of paraphernalia at the path. Glass crunching, mist glowing under IR. Her face upturned into the lens for perfect facial recognition. Deputy Mike Harrison reviewed the footage at my kitchen table while she sat cuffed in his cruiser. "She just added breaking and entering, vandalism, evidence planting, and false report," he said. By sunrise, the paper's front page read, HOA president arrested in harassment campaign. Janet's digging found older versions of this con in Arizona and a suspended California law license for trust fund violations. Veronica posted bail through a Lakeshore-connected bondsman and staggered into hired spin. By evening, her talking points had collapsed under video, bank logs, and a CPS closure. Tomorrow was the town hall. After months of tension, it felt like sitting outside a storm shelter listening for the last siren. Saturday gave us blue sky and a parking lot that looked like a county fair. By 10:30, Willowbrook Community Center overflowed. Local cameras lined the back. State TV took the front angles. DeSara Butler sat with Sheriff Deputy Mike Harrison and FBI Agent Rebecca Torres. When federal badges show up in a small town, everyone sits up straight. Veronica walked in 20 minutes late with the one lawyer who hadn't fled. Conservative suit, trembling hands, a folder thick with motions that would soon be irrelevant. Tom stepped to the mic. "We're here because your HOA president systematically defrauded this community for 3 years," he said as a screen lowered. First slide, $430 collected, $180,000 left. Gasps. Mrs. Patterson squeezed her oxygen tank and whispered, "Oh, my lord." Second slide, spa days, vacations, car payments, and a $50,000 liaison fee from Lakeshore, 2 days after she escalated fines on 3 lakefront families. Murmurs edged toward anger. Then the video. 2:47 a.m., foreclosed in red, a hand scattering baggies, a face lit by IR like a confession. The room boiled. Shame. "Lock her up!" And Veronica curled into her chair as if becoming smaller might undo pixels. Stories followed. Ed Kowalski, Walker planted, voice shaking. "She told me my flag was non-conforming, my shed needed $20,000 in permits. I mortgaged my home to pay fake fines. One by one, victims stood, Morrison forced sale. Young parents with retirement raided, elders with stress admissions." Deb Butler rose. "Based on evidence gathered," she said evenly, "we're filing 23 felony counts: grand theft, money laundering, racketeering, fraud, conspiracy." Applause rolled 5 minutes. Agent Torres added the federal spine. Wire and mail fraud, cross-state laundering, mandatory minimums. Veronica tried to speak. Misunderstandings, and Butler cut her off. "You have the right to remain silent. I suggest you use it." Then Roy Patterson, Fletcher's foxhole friend, unfolded a flag flown over the state capitol. "Fletcher's grandson didn't just fight for his land," he said, voice carrying 6 decades of neighbors helping neighbors. "He fought for every family here." He handed me the flag. "Your grandfather would be proud." The ovation lasted 10 minutes that felt like an exhale. 6 months later, a judge's gavel made official what the parking lot already knew. 5 years in federal prison, $2.8 million in restitution and penalties, including funds clawed from Caribbean shells. Residents got full refunds plus 18% interest. Ed paid off the emergency mortgage. The Pattersons took a first vacation in 5 years. The Veterans Memorial Garden Mackenzie design stretches over the once disputed line. Native wildflowers around granite, honoring local service. A central stone carved with Fletcher's words, "This is our forever home. Nobody can take what you build with your own sweat." The AG formed an HOA fraud task force. 200 suspicious associations investigated, millions recovered. Lakeshore Properties was indicted on racketeering in 4 states. Law schools now teach the Willowbrook model for grassroots resistance. Property values rose 15% for the most old-fashioned reason. People trust this place. Elena calls me the HOA whisperer, while I help other towns read their CCNRs and fight back. Mackenzie wrote her college essay about organizing a memorial garden to stop an HOA scam and collected 12 acceptances with $84,000 in merit aid, headed to pre-law to fix paperwork before it breaks people. Some mornings it's just me, Fletcher's rails under my palms, coffee steaming while loons write the day across the lake. The rhythm is quiet again, and the inbox holds a message from a Tennessee family. Same playbook, same fear, asking if we can help. Yes, I write back. Yes, we absolutely can. Your turn. Drop your HOA horror in the comments. Have you checked if your association is actually incorporated? That one fact saved us months. Hit subscribe if you want more David versus Goliath in suburbia. Bullies count on good people staying quiet. You have more power than you think.